It's the halfway point of the 2025 NBA season, which means we have a pretty decent outlook on the landscape of the league to this point. Some teams are sitting pretty at the top, gearing up for the second half of the season with lofty goals in mind, while others may be trying to save themselves from potential failure, and one way to do that is to scour the trade market. Bleacher Report just put out an article addressing just that by proposing one trade that they believe every team should make right now, so I went through and picked out the most notable ones from it, and as always, I'll be analyzing whether or not the trades make sense, why or why not the teams involved would want to do it, and who benefits the most from it. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first proposal from the article we'll be taking a look at is between the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat, where the Mavericks receive Jimmy Butler in exchange for PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Daniel Gafford, Maxi Kleber, and 2 first-round picks. The Mavericks are definitely not having the type of season that they were hoping to have after making a run to the NBA Finals last year, currently sitting in 7th place in the Western Conference standings, hovering around the play-in tournament portion of the standings, so I understand why the sentiment would pop up about them making another aggressive move to try to get over the hump, but I'm struggling to get on board with the reality of what this trade would result in. If I'm being completely honest, a trade like this would feel eerily similar to when the Phoenix Suns lost in the NBA Finals, then traded away all of their depth and quality role player talent for Kevin Durant, focusing on a star-studded trio that may not end up being enough to overcome the rest of the roster's weaknesses. A lineup of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, and Derek Lively is a thing of beauty when you look at it written out on paper, but when you realize that it's not 2019 anymore and there are a ton of other factors that need to be taken into account, it becomes less intriguing. There's no guarantee that they'll all even be healthy together, with Kyrie, Klay, and Jimmy all struggling with injuries in the latter part of their careers, and Luka being injured right now as we speak. Defensively, that lineup is a recipe for disaster, and a bench unit of Jaden Hardy, Dwight Powell, and Quentin Grimes is just not enough support to legitimately hold up in the height of playoff battle. Yes, the temptation of bringing in Jimmy Butler to take a swing at him regaining his playoff powers with them is immense, but PJ Washington and Najee Marshall are too critical to the team's success on the defensive side of the floor. Daniel Gafford gives them strong minutes at the center position, and the ball is always going to be in Luka Doncic's hands the most anyway, so I don't think this is a very good idea. The next proposal from the article is between the Houston Rockets and the Sacramento Kings, where the Rockets receive De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter in exchange for Fred VanVleet, Reed Sheppard, Cam Whitmore, and 2 first-round picks. This one caught my eye immediately as one of the most intriguing and possible trades I've seen in one of these articles in a while. The Kings started the season very slowly, and reports started popping up about a potential blow-up if they don't figure things out quickly. They then followed that up by going on a bit of a hot streak that has sent them rising up the standings to 8th place in this conference, getting them firmly back into the playoff mix, but only 1 game separates them from 11th place in the standings, and with how hot and cold they've been, there's no guarantee this success continues, which could lead to more uncomfortable trade talks having to be had. De'Aaron Fox may not come out and say it, but there's been rumors of him desperately wanting to play for something more meaningful, and there are definitely going to be a lot of suitors for him around the trade deadline. Fox is one of the best point guards in the league with blistering speed. He puts defenses in uncomfortable positions regularly with his innate ability to get wherever he wants on the floor, and while Houston is emerging as a defensive juggernaut, they are still desperately seeking a reliable number 1 scoring option, so the 26 points per game that Fox brings to the table could be just that. This is also a rare example of a team trying to trade for a star having enough quality assets at their disposal to do so without sacrificing what makes them good in the first place, as a top 3 pick in Reed Sheppard doesn't seem to have a role on the team right now, but he is still a very promising young player that the Kings would love to take a swing on. Fred VanVleet can replace Fox in the starting lineup immediately, and Cam Whitmore plus the first-round picks bolster the offer even further. So all in all, both teams are getting what they seek from a timeline and fit perspective. It's just going to come down to whether the Kings can continue rising up the standings or not. The next proposal from the article is between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets, where the Lakers receive LaMelo Ball in exchange for Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Max Christie, 2 first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. After the Lakers originally drafted Lonzo Ball back in 2017, hoping the hype and entertainment value provided by that whole family would revitalize the franchise, it would admittedly be pretty incredible to see LaMelo get to play in the bright LA spotlight while actually living up to the hype as a bona fide all-star at the point guard position. LaMelo is still a huge megastar in the league with a massive following, but people have been begging for him to be on a team that gets more consistent attention and plays more meaningful basketball, because the Hornets have been one of the most uninteresting teams outside of Ball for pretty much his entire tenure, and teaming up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis would be must-see TV nightly. We're also witnessing yet another lost season for Charlotte as they sit in 13th place in the East with an unreasonable hole to climb out of. And with this now being LaMelo's 5th year in the league, it's not crazy to think that he too at some point wants to be in a position to experience playoff basketball again. The Lakers simultaneously are still in search of a real answer at point guard after trading away D'Angelo Russell, with LeBron obviously providing elite playmaking skills as a forward, but shouldn't have to be relied upon to do everything at this age. I like everything about this concept, but realistically, if LaMelo Ball becomes available on the trade market, there's no question that other teams would be willing and able to beat this offer. Players that aren't as good as LaMelo have been traded for way more than 2 first-round picks, along with talented players involved in those trades as well, and while Austin Reeves is a solid combo guard, he's not enough to cover for the lack of value that the Hornets would want in return for Ball's services. So unless the Lakers find a way to cough up more, this probably won't be happening. And finally, the last proposal we'll be looking at from the article is between the San Antonio Spurs and the Sacramento Kings, where the Spurs received De'Aaron Fox in exchange for Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, and 3 first-round picks. De'Aaron Fox popped up a few times in this article because obviously he's one of the best players that has been linked to potentially being on the trade block soon, so plenty of teams will be throwing their hat in the ring trying to land him. The Spurs are an obvious fit for Fox as a young team on the rise with an absolute stud of a franchise cornerstone in Victor Wembanyama, who will need a playmaking running mate to build with moving forward through his career. Bringing in veteran Chris Paul has been an amazing fit, unlocking Wembanyama's abilities around the rim even further, but Paul is also turning 40 years old this year, so he's obviously not a viable permanent solution to the Spurs point guard position. Fox is an all-star caliber point guard who loves to get out and run, he pushes the pace, and him and Wembanyama would be a lethal duo in the open floor. I like the fact that the Spurs are throwing in 3 first-round picks here, but what holds them back is the fact that I don't think any of the 3 players included in this offer move the needle all that much. Keldon Johnson's role on the Spurs has reduced in each of the last 3 seasons because while he is very athletic, his shot creation skills haven't really been honed as much as the team would have liked to see, and he's not a great defender either. Malachi Branham doesn't even crack the rotation on some teams in the league, and Trey Jones is a mediocre backup point guard at best. I love the fit, I just think the Kings are going to need to be wowed if they're going to be motivated to move their best player, and this deal does not wow. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these proposed trades. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.